31st, 1979, the Western Airlines Flight 2605, an international flight between Los Angeles and Mexico, crashed at the Mexico City International Airport. Of the 88 on board, 72 were perished. The cockpit voice recording of the last seconds of the flight indicated that the first officer and captain agreed that they were cleared for 23R, though they were still on approach to 23L runway. The captain realized this, saying, "No, this is the approach to the goddamn left." With the aircraft at a speed of 113 knots, which is quite fast, the main landing gear touched the ground, with the left gear on the grass left off runway 23L and the right gear on the runway shoulder, producing a force greater than G20. 1 second later, the crew tried to abort the landing and applied go-around power. The first officer began to describe the ILS approach's missed approach, a climb to 8,500 feet in a non-urgent perfunctory manner as the DC-10 once again became airborne. Approximately 3 seconds after the touchdown, it took a 10 to 11 degree nose-up altitude and the right main gear collided with a dump truck loaded with 10 tons of earth. All right, we're going to continue our conversation with certain experts who are going to give us their perspective. They're going to throw a lot of light to a lot of things that may not make sense to us and, of course, may not make sense to the families who have lost their loved ones. Group Captain UK Devnath, former Indian Air Force officer, is with us on the broadcast. Group Captain Dr. V.N. Jha, former Indian Air Force officer and defense expert, also joins us on the broadcast. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. It is, of course, a day of reckoning for the Indian aviation industry. Dr. V.N. Jha, I'll begin with you, sir. So first up, what do you think happened here? You know, we've given you an example of when plane crashes happen. It is not a simple procedure to figure. It's not like a car crash. It is not like even a train crash. It is a very complicated mess that needs to be studied. It needs to be analyzed. It also needs to be logged and, in fact, put out in the industry as well as the companies who manufacture aircraft so that these mistakes are not repeated. From what we see happen to this particular ill-fated airline, AI-171, it seems that there was nothing wrong in the morning. It flew from Delhi to Ahmedabad, but when it had to fly from Ahmedabad to London, it crashed. Both the engines stalled. The landing gear, was not sucked in like it usually is. What do you think happened here, sir?
Well, Vineet, very unfortunate. My heart and mind goes with the near and dears of those who have perished. My condolences to the family. May the Almighty provide them the strength to bear this, heavy burden onto their shoulders and mind. My hearts and mind for them. As your question is there, look, Vineet, one thing is very sure that we have seen in the Air Force. I have about 39 years of service there. Usually any fatal aircraft accident doesn't happen on a single failure. Usually it is a mosaic of many failures, many errors that all together end up into a fatal accident. That's the usual approach that we follow. Second thing is that in this particular case, as you have mentioned, the aircraft has come with a normal flight from Delhi to Ahmedabad. From Ahmedabad, it had done everything pre-accident. Everything seemed to be normal. Usually, when we start the engine, before starting engine, the pilot, second pilot, and the first pilot both have a detailed checklist to go through, and they check each and every instrument. And these airliners, 787, 737, or even 777, they have got plethora of the instruments. Even with the backups are there are redundancy built into the system. There are even standby to the redundancy, main redundancy. So there's a many layer of the support that they have got. So they would have started the engine after the entire checklist. Then they would have taken permission from the air traffic control to taxi. At the end with taxi, just before entering the shoulder, at the shoulder of the runway, usually they once again run through the checklist. When all the engines are running, all systems are on. Again, do that, and then they take permission from the air traffic control to line up and take off. When they come up and land up, even at that time, usually they put the brakes on and then they raise the RPM of the engines. At certain percentage of the RPM, they check those last few parameters, which is mandatory for before takeoff, and then only they release the brake. In this case, I have no doubt that all these things would have happened. But I told you I have assisted in about 7 fatal aircraft accident. When I looked at this particular takeoff role, to my eyes, it looks that somewhere around middle of the runway, the type of acceleration that should have been there was somewhere lacking. Even after the takeoff, the way the aircraft ascends, there is a picture into our minds. All different aircraft have got different types of ascent rate. There seems to be some sluggishness in the ascent rate. That hints to me whether engine thrust or the RPM was suboptimal at the time, immediately before takeoff, or after the V1 point. Of course, they would have crossed, and then immediately after takeoff. And that is what we see, that aircraft has come to a place with a reducing type of ascent, and then it has gone horizontally, like for few seconds, and then it has started sinking. That is the time possibly pilot has realized that he can't pursue, he can't continue with the flight, and then he has
So
given
isn't
a
that
call
something?
of
So isn't that something that hypothetically speaking, sir, theoretically speaking, isn't that something that could have been figured out, before takeoff?
No, no. If that takeoff run in the initial seconds leading up to B1 was normal, there is no reason to believe that they would have been anything for them. Of course, the details thing will come out only after the CDR, cockpit voice recorder, as well as the black box reveal. They reveal everything, all parameters. How was the engine running? How was the thrust? What all was transpiring between the pilot and the co-pilot? What are the other parameters coming up there? We also understand that the environmental temperature was slightly high. In Air Force, we stopped flying, local flying at above 40 degrees Celsius. But these flights, they are the massive engines. One engine can take the aircraft further down. You would have made a circuit landing on one engine. So all these things are there. These are the massive aircrafts. It has got the backup support. So I don't have any reason to believe that anything was wrong before the V1. V1 is the no-go, no turning back situation, from where you can't abort even take off. You have to, take off from there. So something has happened only after that. Possibly, to me, it looks like something has happened that, but it is a clear thing that both engines have refused to give enough thrust that could have sustained the flight. What could be the reasons for this? In past, in history, there are occasional reports wherein both engines have subsided on. In the dual engine aircraft of this sort, it is a rare thing to happen. Obviously, the investigator will have to go into the details of the systems, how it has happened. My heart and mind again with all the family. May God give the peace to those departed souls. We always, hope for the best that it doesn't recur. The investigation's role is that they should go into the every details of it, find out the cause of the accident, so that it doesn't recur again in the similar situation. Vineet.
You're absolutely right, sir. And Group Captain UK Devnath, 32 seconds is too